Hey, it's your girl Jade, and you are watching Mary C. Cole's Youth Voices podcast, giving young people a voice. And today we will be speaking about knife crime, and our podcast is called Sharp Realities, Cutting the Silence. So today I'm joined by Si Phili from Wingman Mentors, where he's also a very dope musician. And then we have Tierney, and she is from Bedford Open Doors as well.
Hi.
So Open Doors is
it's a counselling service for young people that is based in Bedford Town. It covers sort of central mid-Beds and obviously Bedford Borough, and it's for young people between 13 to 25, and it's also a free service as well.
Oh, that's so good. I think that we need something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I actually used to use the service myself before I started working there for a good while, and so I owe them a lot. They've been really good to me.
We love those like full circle moments. Si, can you tell us a bit about you and what you do with Wingman Mentors and previously?
Okay, my name's Si Phili, also known as Si Philbert. I'm a senior youth intervention specialist. I've been working with youth for, I'd say, the last 7-8 years, primarily around criminal exploitation, serious youth violence, knife crime, county lines, and basically complex needs, really. So I've currently working with the Veru, also with Gangs Line, and I've also set up my own organisation, Wingman Mentors, also known as Wingman Support Services, and really just to work in Luton and Bedfordshire, really working with the same nominals and cohorts I've been working with previously. So I'm also previously a musician as well, so check out my music, Si Phili, on Google if you like.
Shameless plug. That's actually how we met, because we met at an event and then you said you made music, so I was like, oh, that's really cool. What actually inspired you to work within your field?
Well, for me, it started from, I also work with young people with regards to radicalisation and anti-radicalisation, so that'd be right-wing radicalisation and Islamist radicalisation. That started with me working with Prevent, I'd say probably about 6 years ago, where I'd put up a status about a quite well-known person from Luton, and it basically culminated into me being attacked having a racist attack on social media. So then I basically got approached by Prevent for me to work with young people with regards to radicalisation, because of Luton being such a hotspot for both sides of it. So the whole grooming line of radicalisation basically blended into the grooming line of gang radicalisation as well. So they kind of merged together from that. A lot of the young people I was working with regards to radicalisation were also involved in gang activity and county lines, so they kind of merged from there, really. So I've kind of honed my training really onto the whole complexity of young people and what they're growing up with now, and the issues that they're facing now as well. So that's basically how it turned into me doing gang work.
Due to some recent events that have been going on in Luton, I think that the topic that we're speaking about is it's actually something it's ongoing, but I feel like it's been put back into, I guess, the spotlight, where there were some stabbings. Yeah. I think a girl was like beaten up as well in one area too. And so we wanted to really just bring it back into the spotlight also. I think that just like everybody else, we're quite guilty sometimes of, this is something that's ongoing, but because something happened, now we're gonna like talk about it more. That
knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, I think based on like Mary C. Cole on a whole, we deal with things like that all the time anyway. Yeah. So it's not like we're not, because we're a hostel. We deal with young people, and sometimes there are people that are, I guess, in certain lifestyles and things. So we do the behind the scenes work, but when it comes to bringing it forth to the spotlight, I feel like
it's the ball gets dropped a lot of the time, really, and it needs to be a constant thing of the community being aware of it all the time, and for it to be able to make a change, really. So
yeah, most definitely. Has knife crime affected either of you or your friends or family, either directly or indirectly?
Me myself directly, I haven't actually from when I was young, I grew up around knives and young people using knives and knives being involved in fights. Luckily I never managed to get stabbed myself, but in my day, I might not look as old as I do, but in my day, people weren't really stabbing. It was more of a slashing thing. That people would say they'd wet you. Do you know what I mean? Some people would either get sliced on their chest or on their stomach, or sliced on their face, which is one of the worst places that you could get slashed, obviously, so because it's visible for people to see, but it was more of a thing of that. So me, myself, I've always been around that, and the closest I've really come to it like that is my son got basically half of his face cut off by somebody. It's about 7 years ago now. So probably longer than that, about 10 years ago now. So within my family, that's probably the closest it's come to, but I've had countless friends get stabbed, and I've had friends die from being stabbed and being attacked in certain situations like that. So, and for me, because of the time that I've been working in this, the amount of young people that I've had to work with who have just been stabbed, and then we have to have a strap meeting to decide whether the young person can actually live in the area still, and things like that. And it's become a thing. So many young people are so they're desensitized to being stabbed now, and it's become the norm to them. So it's, for me, I rarely go through a week without coming across somebody or working with somebody who's just been stabbed or is about to get stabbed that weekend. So,
wow, that's mind blowing. What about yourself, Tierney?
So it's actually affected myself directly and my friends, 2 instances. So I know myself and you have met Roseanne, and I actually knew her son AJ through social media, things like that, mutual friends.
I work with Roseanne as well.
Yeah. When we met at the beginning of the year and I realised it was AJ's mum, I couldn't believe it, and I knew that I was on the right path, trying to help all the young people. But yeah, I knew him, but not as well as other people that I knew him. So when he actually did die, one of my friends was like, do you want to come to the funeral? But I was kind of like, I think it's really disrespectful for me to come because I didn't know him like that. We had a very big social media online friendship. He'd be someone that I'd FaceTime on my way home, walking from like Flitwick back home in the dark and stuff like that. We only met on a few occasions, but we had a really strong presence online. And actually last year, me and my friends were at a private birthday party, and 4 boys decided to run up the caravan that we were in with machetes, and one of my friends got stabbed, and realistically they must have been quite young because I got involved and I pulled a lot of them off of my friend at one point when they were all beating him up, and I might not have been here today because obviously they had like these big knives, and I think them being young and them sort of being like, oh my God, there's a girl in the situation now, was sort of the only thing that saved me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
And I know that a lot of us are still trying to, like, talking about it now is making me feel really nervous because I haven't really thought about it a lot. And yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. We were just at a birthday party, a private one, no one really knew where we were, and then all of a sudden, 4 boys come running in with massive knives trying to rob people, hurt people. It was really scary.
And do you think that it's become something that, like, some people are desensitized to, or it's become normalized? Because you said, like, even speaking about it now, it does still make you feel a bit anxious or nervous talking about it. But compared to yourself, obviously, because it was an experience you actually had as well, do you feel like it's kind of become a bit normalised, or they at least act like it's just like, people get stabbed every day? Like,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, it's
definitely part of the problem where it's become normality now as well. I always say with a lot of the meetings that I go to that where people ask the question of why the young people carrying knives, and what people really need to understand is that we've got a massive mental health problem going on in the UK right now.
I agree.
A lot of the young people are traumatised without even realise they're traumatised from the content they're looking at on social media, the stuff that they actually see, the things they hear from their friends. So a lot of these kids think, I'm not going out into that war zone without my weapon. Do you know what I mean? It's like telling a soldier to go out into the war zone without his gun. Do you know what I mean? So these kids are all thinking that everybody's carrying a knife, when in true reality it's a smaller percentage of young people that are actually carrying knives, but we just hear so much about it, and because so many kids are just tuned into this lifestyle, it's all they see, so they think that everybody's carrying a knife. So if they're carrying a knife, I'm carrying a knife, rather than them thinking they're going to be the ones who are 6 feet dead, 6 feet underground. Do you know what I mean? They'd rather be the one to protect themselves. Do you know what I mean? But I always tell a kid, if you really wanted to protect yourself, you'd have a shield, you wouldn't have a knife. But no kid's going to be walking around with a Captain America shield.
Yeah.
So, and they're just basically going to have a lot of kids will just carry a knife for a status symbol.
You actually touched on something, which is what I wanted to ask next, about social media playing a big part in, like, that kind of lifestyle. Do you feel like social media has, like, become a tool or become something to make it to glorify knife crime, I guess, or
Do you want to go first on that? Or?
Yeah, I was going to just say, I think it adds fuel to the fire. I personally believe that like things like video games, etc., not necessarily will always play a massive part, because I feel like a lot of people do understand the difference between, you know, something real life and not real life, like a video game. But when you've got such violent things like videos online of, you know, people being beheaded, things like that, people filming other people fighting in the street, I feel like that sends out a lot of negative energy, which a lot of like young people are going to consume, especially, you know, with the words that people use when they're commenting on other people's photos, stuff like that. People can get really nasty online, and I think that in turn just fills young people full of rage, and then they take that rage out onto the street.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. I feel like you touched on something else when you said about the social media as well, about it being, I guess, almost like normalized and stuff through there, and the mental health as well. And I often say, you know, some people, we almost have like a PTSD based on just seeing
things,
all of this stuff, because you're seeing it in almost real time on your social media. It might not be like in your face like physically, but you're still seeing something that's happening or happened.
It's a lot of young people will literally watch that kind of content all day, and social media rules the roost with everything now. So if social media, if it's not on social media, it didn't happen. So a lot of young people, where they'll just be watching this kind of content all the time and listening to the type of music they listen to all the time, it basically normalizes that behavior to them. So then when it gets questioned, you're the one who's in the wrong, because it's like, I've seen this all the time, this is what's happening, how are you telling me not to carry a knife? Don't you know what it's like out here, type of thing. So I can understand exactly where some of these young people are coming from, but social media for me has got a massive part to play in it, simply because a lot of that content could be controlled. If the social media companies were really paying attention to the amount of young people that are dying, because there's young people that are dying just because of a music video that a group made. So YouTube have got on top of that to a degree, but you've still got Instagram, you've still got TikTok and everything else, where young people will use that tool to promote and basically they're clout chasing. So the likes that they're getting, I've seen young people there who will be stabbing another young person while they're filming it with their own phone. And literally just for them to post up online to get the clout from the likes of on that video. Do you know what I mean? And then a lot of young people are watching those kind of things, so it normalises it for them. Do you know what I mean? And then the next thing you know, it's like, right, you know what? I've got a problem with mine, man. So I'm not going to... And they know full well they can't fight them, because physically they can't fight them. But it's the embarrassment thing a bit, you know. So when back in the day, if you got embarrassed at school or something like that, you got embarrassed at school amongst your group of friends, and then it finished at 3:30, 4 o'clock when school was done. Now that's going on worldwide all the time. I mean, so that some people can't take that, so then they'll retaliate online.
The pride
and then the pride as well. I mean, and then pride ends up getting them into trouble like that. So I think we definitely need to get control over social media, and also just train our young people how to use social media and because social media is a double-edged sword. It can literally be your detriment, or it can be the most valuable tool you've got.
It
can help you to be successful. I know young people that are earning more than grown adults simply from their social media presence.
Yeah.
And by the time they leave school, their social media following, their presence is going to be more important than their CV.
Yeah.
But it's about how they use it. So
I feel you on that. Well, we spoke to some young people within the Luton area, and this is what they had to say. Do you think social media has a role in promoting or glorifying knife crime, and how do you think we can address that kind of problem?
So I think there is a direct link between social media and knife crime. I'm sure there's been most arguments regarding knife crime also start online between teenagers as well. So I think in that sense it's quite hard to tackle something that is digital and the police can't directly see, or parents can't directly see.
I think a lot of social media has regulations where it prevents you from posting certain things, but then you have others like Snapchat, for instance, where people can post whatever they want, glorifying these issues. And
are there specific areas or neighbourhoods in our community where you think knife crime might be more prevalent, and why do you think that is?
I'd say Berry Park, because there's quite a lot of gangs and drugs go there. They start there and then they move into town centre. So from there, lots of people, and because there's loads of people in a small area, so fights can break out quite easily. So which can cause people to hold on, carry a knife just for protection, because they think it will keep them safe, and they might involve using it.
So we touched on the topic about a young man called Azan and or AJ. And AJ was a young man from Luton. He was 18 years old, and unfortunately he lost his life due to knife crime. Part of us actually meeting the second time was his mum sharing her story about AJ. I think we were all at that event, at the very launch, and basically she tackles knife crime through her work. She shares her experience and her son's experience with everyone, and she also, one of the things I really commended is that she actually helped and helps the young men that were involved in her son's attack as well, which for me was mind-blowing, because I was just like, I said, girl, I don't know what you believe in, but that's a God thing, because to be able to forgive on that level.
I think her growth throughout this whole thing of being able to then approach one of the people there who was involved in her son's murder, and then be able to, I think that's probably part of her healing process as well. But I mean, for me, it's commendable, really, as well. So
yeah, I think so. I actually get so emotional.
I don't know if I could do it, to be honest with you. I didn't know him well like other people did, and I remember Facebooking the boys afterwards and being like, I don't ever want to walk past them in the street because I don't think I could ever forgive them.
See, the thing is, for me, it brings up another topic of these are young people that are getting sent to jail, and they're going to end up coming out. So Roseanne touched on it the other night as well, where if we don't approach these young people in jail as well and try and fix them while they're in jail, we're going to have even worse young people coming out of jail and have a much bigger, in 10, 20 years, we're going to have a much bigger problem than we've got right now with adults as well as the kids. Yeah. So, and a lot of these adults, some of these young people who are getting sent to jail have got kids. Do you know what I mean? So then these kids are growing up without a father in their life, so then they're going to be a problem as well as the parent, unless we tackle this problem in a holistic way all over it, and that includes going into the prisons. And
that's the key word what you said, is holistic, because when somebody goes to jail, it's supposed to be almost like also a rehabilitation process. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not. It's because it's jail. Your punishment. You get locked up for doing something that you shouldn't have been doing, and you break the law. So I think that her work really just puts that rehabilitation into what it's meant to be for. Like you said before, some of these young men, that's all they've grown up seeing. Yeah. They have PTSD from what they've grown up seeing, from what they see on social media, from what they see in music. Don't get it twisted. I come from the generation where we saw gangster movies and not everybody was out here doing that. Yeah. But everything can influence somebody in some way. It's literally that's why it's called an influence. Yeah.
No one can say that drill music doesn't influence some of the behaviour that we're seeing here right now. It's not completely to blame for it, but it's got to have something to do with it. I mean, no one can say that all games have got nothing to do with it. I mean, I've sat there and played Grand Theft Auto for hour upon hour upon hour. Do you know what I mean? And I know I played it with my son as well. Do you know what I mean? He was 15 at the time. Do you know what I mean? But still too young. But at the same time, we're playing it and understanding. But I know that desensitized him to a degree, even myself to a degree, with some things that I may even down to a simple thing of the way I drive. The way I'll drive on Grand Theft Auto, sometimes I used to stop thinking and drive like I was driving on Grand Theft Auto in real life to have to calm myself down. Do you know what I mean? But obviously not driving at erratic speeds and going on crazy, but certain illegal manoeuvres that I would never do now, I would have done just simply from being influenced
just
by
being relaxed in that.
Just being too relaxed and thinking like that. So if you've got a young impressionable mind, and especially if you've got mental health issues as well, all these things are going to play an influence on you and make you into the person that you are, especially if you haven't got any guidance.
And do you think like there are specific areas, especially based on your work, you both work with young people, do you think there's specific areas within Luton or Bedfordshire where it's stronger or more prevalent compared to others when it comes to knife crime?
It mixes, it changes all the time. There's areas that, like I live in Stopsley, and 10 years ago, if you would ask somebody, I'm moving to Luton, where should I go to? People would have said, move to Stopsley, it's nice and quiet up there. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Right now, I know that Stopsley is as active as Marsh Farm and Lucy Farm and Hockow Ring, if not sometimes more. There's obviously got to be some focused policing going on in some of these areas to make people feel safer in those areas, so people's senses aren't so heightened in those areas as well. But even just down to just different community events in those areas, we don't have any of those kind of community events for people to be able to come to that different estate, find out what it's like, do you know what I mean, and then realise, it's not so bad here anyway in this part, and then those different events get promoted on social media as a positive event. Do you know what I mean? So instead of people replying on social media, I'm so glad I left that town, it can be hopefully somebody, do you know what, I might have to come down to Luton for one of these community events because it's a community, as opposed to it just being these separate silos of different estates.
Well, yeah, because then you have the community event, and then some people are like, well, I can't go to that area
Because it's in that area. Yeah.
because they don't like me or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you actually live a couple of towns over in Bedfordshire.
I live in Bedford.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's it like where you're from?
I mean, so I know a lot of people in Luton, and they're like, "Oh, you live in Bedford, it must be so nice." And I'm like, "Nope, it is the exact same." I've had, people outside my window talking about hurting each other, screaming, shouting, taking drugs, things like that. Like, I think that every community is affected by these types of situations and things like that, especially with knife crime. I don't think it fits any stereotype anymore. I think it's everywhere. And I think some areas are potentially maybe good at hiding it than others.
Yep.
I find that because Bedfordshire is quite a conservative sort of area, especially where I grew up, sort of like around Flitwick. I think a lot of people hold this is a posh town, this is where all the nice houses are, that house down the road cost £1 million, but all of the boys at the skate park have taken their mum's potato knives out of the kitchen and running around chasing people across the tracks at the station.
Yeah, but none of that gets reported.
I think people are better at hiding it behind closed doors in Bedford sort of area, maybe then potentially some other people would see it as Luton, if that makes sense. But I think it's just as bad everywhere.
It is. I spent just about 2 years working in Stevenage and North Herts, and people are always surprised at how much knife crime and how much stabbings go on in those areas as well. But I think what people fail to realise is that basically knife crime is going to be wherever county lines is. So if you've got county lines it's based on country and you being out as far and living out in the sticks. So if you've got county lines in that area, you've got knife crime, you've got gun crime, you've got criminal activity, all because it all goes hand in hand. Just a lot of it doesn't go reported.
I googled it, and the highest rate of knife crime at the moment, or in the last sort of year, was West Midlands. Not even London, West Midlands.
Wow.
I know, which I was kind of taken aback by, because I always thought the West Midlands was quite nice.
I guess it's you just never know, do you? You don't. It's become a nationwide, if not international issue, when it comes to this.
And you've got, sorry to cut in there as well, you've got other issues there where you've got young gang members that are in trouble in London, and then they'll get shipped out to, for example, Royston or something like that, and then not realising that's just a train line away. I mean, so what we've really done is expanded that young person's network. Then he's going to set up there and be back and forth, going back to London, and then basically that will spread out in that area there as well, and then the violence spreads out there too. So
it then just creates the networks, basically. Here's what the young people had to say surrounding this topic. In your opinion, what do you think that schools or places of education can do to prevent knife crime and support the youth who might be at risk to that kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, I think school and education play a vital role in informing the youth, where in primary school and high school we're still very impressionable. That means what we learn, we will keep it throughout our life. So I think if we start early and teach them about the dangers of knife crime and how we can avoid it and deal with the issues before they escalate and turn into a problem where you need to carry a knife, that would be amazing for the community.
I think schools don't do absolutely anything when it comes to knife crime. If anything kicks off in school, they'll just do the regular, sign something, put them in detention, call their parents, and that's it. That's what the school thinks, that's it. But what they don't understand is that, us as in teens, they communicate after, and to them, the problem is still not solved. The school thinks it's, job's over, that's it, it's all done. But the school, they don't fix the problem. If anything, they just make it worse. Because all they do is they just make one guy look like the one who's actually not doing anything, and one guy who's actually, doing the bad thing, and that person is probably go down a path where a knife will probably come out at some point. So I think the school needs to understand how to 100% end it, rather than just make it worse.
I think that schools actually focus on the crime itself. So they'll focus on the kid that had the knife, or they showed the knife, and they'd be excluded or put in isolation or anything. But I don't think they focus on the cause, because there is a reason why that knife is in that pocket, why they feel the need to bring that knife around, why they felt the need to stab someone.
Okay.
I feel like schools wait too late to address the problem itself because I can't name one assembly on knife crime till the most recent incident in my school. So I think schools only address the issue when it's a prevalent problem for the youth, not when it's like, you know, not as fluctuating in the media, I guess, because obviously when the recent Indian incident, it was everywhere in the media. So I think schools are just delaying their education for the children and the youth in general, just way too late until it's too late for them to even, I guess, pick up on the information.
Prevention is better than cure, right?
I did not get a single assembly about knife crime until it affected a student in my school. So one of the students in my school was one of the ones that was stabbed.
Oh, okay.
He made a good recovery, so he's all right now. But after that, literally, it happened on the Friday. We had an assembly first thing in the Monday addressing it. But before that point, there was not a single assembly, there was not a single word, there was not a single anything, either at home or at school. So I think that if we address it starting as young as, I'd say, year 3, just to point it out there that it shouldn't be done, because children are getting phones younger and younger now. So the first thing they're getting is social media. So they're getting all of that, but they're not getting told, is it wrong, is it right? They're just seeing something and making a judgment based on what they see on social media, which most of the time is false.
So I believe all problems stem from home, where you learn. So a lot of people nowadays, their parents are busy working, their mother's working, their father's working, and when they come home, they find an empty home. So I think it's important to learn the values at home, morals, before you set foot on the street, because everything starts from home. Your parents are your role models. So what they do impacts you throughout life, and I think that it's important for them to learn what it takes for you to go into the real world.
Yeah, I feel like with this kind of situation, it's something I've become quite passionate about from a young age. I don't know if you remember like Cayenne Prince back in the day. I think I was like in school those days. That's like a whole 15 years ago or something, and that and it's like it's still something that's happening. Do you feel like in schools and colleges, places of like education, do you think that they do enough to prevent knife crime or to help in preventing knife crime or that kind of lifestyle? Do you think there's enough school campaigns? Do you think that they educate enough?
I think you touched on it earlier. It's a lot of the organisations, well, schools and different organisations, it will be a knee-jerk reaction. So that when something's happened, like for instance, right now, all the schools in Luton will all be having talks on knife crime and and gang activity and things like that. And it's because of this situation that's happened over the last few weeks. But it needs to be something that's continual all the time. And I believe that we need to be starting this a lot younger as well. We need to be starting this from primary school, really. I mean, so even if it's just sowing the seeds into these young people for them to understand the consequences of knife crime and carrying a knife, and just basically teach them from young, so that by the time they do get to school, they're not as influenced by it, or at least have some kind of some knowledge of that as well. So schools obviously could do a lot more, but I think it's the same that everybody could do a lot more. So I think I'm hoping that, obviously I can't control the whole county, do you know what I mean? But I would hope that in Luton that we continue with this moving on. I've got the Knife Angel coming to Luton next year in July. It's going to be in Luton for the month, and the idea of that is really to try and leave a legacy of anti-knife crime, anti-violence. And I don't want it to just be about knife crime, I want it to be about anti-violence, and not just within youth as well, for different organisations like ourselves to be able to network and then have that as a continuation moving forward after that month when the angel leaves, so that learning's still there, and us as a town can have that village kind of concept, as in looking out for each other and knowing the consequences of it, and also being able to help in the event of a critical bleed as well.
So Tierney, as a young person, do you think that in your school, like growing up, that there was enough education on this? What was your experience like?
I would say my experience was, pretty mediocre. We had, the very basic assemblies on things like Sophie's Choice and things like that. I don't ever really remember having any sort of assemblies on violent crime or knife crime. More sort of exploitation. I personally also think that school just needs to bring back more of a community sort of vibe. I don't feel like they educate us enough on how to look after each other and ourselves, especially around, being exploited and things like that, because I think a lot of people think, it's only vulnerable people that get exploited. But I knew a lot of girls who had the best parents, but because they were wrapped up in cotton wool, they still could have been exploited just as easy as someone coming from care or something like that. So I think just in general, the whole educational system needs to change in terms of educating everyone on real life situations and actually how to like look after each other and how to stand up for certain things. I've been in a situation before where I've been really worried about a friend, and then I've gone and spoke to an appropriate adult about it, but then everyone around me has made me feel really bad for doing that, even though I've taken the steps to make sure that they're safe, even though I'm talking about them. So I think, there needs to be more education around community, inclusiveness, looking after each other and supporting each other.
I really agree with that one about it being inclusiveness and community. And, I mentioned at the very launch that, I was that girl that I might have had a couple of friends that might be, say, like, or people like affiliated, I guess, or a couple of people that might be involved in a certain lifestyle. And you're coming from school and you do your homework and whatever, and sometimes you'll talk to your friend on MSN or whatever it might be. And sometimes, like, you call your friend and it's going to voicemail and you're like, and your belly starts turning and you're like, I hope that they're okay. And did they get arrested? Did they get hurt? You don't know. Like, it's horrible. So I definitely feel like it needs to be, there needs to be a sense of more of community in the schools, more education. I don't know if you guys remember the little Firefly, when they teach children don't play with matches.
Yes.
They need something like that, but for this. Because this is also a real life situation. Playing with matches is more of like an accidental, but this is something that once you make that decision, which is why it's called, cutting the silence. Once you make that decision and you do something like that, you can't take it back. Even if it's just an injury for that person, you cannot take it back, because if you get into trouble for it, you're going to get locked up, or you don't know what people might do to retaliate. You're going to be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life, regardless.
Even the fact of you carrying a knife could be the reason that you get stabbed.
That also, and with your own too, sometimes, So I think that they need that kind of education as well. So we spoke to some young people within the Luton area, and this is what they had to say on the topic. So what do you believe? Is there anybody else
who wants to answer that?
Sorry, the root of my question.
I know this is going to sound odd, but I will explain myself. It's fun. It's seen as fun. It's glorified, and the fact that it's seen as a brag now. Oh, I have a knife in my pocket. Oh, I've stabbed this person. It's seen as something fun to do. Seems like something brag-worthy. Seems like something that you can, I don't want to use this term, it's a bit outdated, but rule the schoolyard. And you can say, oh, I stabbed this person and this person. Look at me, I'm a big shot.
Like, even making songs about it.
Exactly. So that glorification about how fun it is just encouraging more people to do it.
But like what she said, like especially with like teenage boys, they think they pretend like they're in a gang and stuff like that. So they think that they're big. So they do all the stuff, say that all the stuff just to get like have people to back them and stuff. That's what they say.
I think the real problem is the accessibility to getting a knife. I mean, it's called a knife crime for a reason, because it's a literal knife. I mean, people for hundreds of thousands of years, they've had problems, arguments and fights. I mean, it's a natural, all humans. But when a knife comes into the picture, that makes it like a billion times worse. That knife, it can destroy thousands of people.
I think another one of the like main causes, or root causes, is how difficult some like teenagers or young adults make it for police to track a knife, because of the amount of different ways people say the word knife, if you know what I mean. Like there's so many different ways that people on the streets say the word knife, so like authorities don't pick up on what their activities or what their motives are for things like that. So I think finding any sort of solution to that, or like sort of educating themselves on what these words mean, because obviously those words are put in place so that authorities don't pick up on it. So I think finding a solution for, words that means something else. So
one thing that, like how he was saying about the slang and stuff,
Yeah.
like most, like in America, they have like gang police who are trained on learning about these words and what they mean and stuff. But I think they should put that like in the police here, and so like you have an department who know like how to deal with this, like the slang
special
words.
unit, basically.
Yeah.
So my last question is, in your opinion, do you think there's much activities for young people to do in Luton? And if not, what do you suggest the community needs? So
I think there's activities to do around Luton, but they're a bit hard to find. So there's clubs and activities to do after school, before school, and during the half-term holidays. But it's a bit hard to find. You'd have to do a lot of research and ask, email people, which I think is a lot less convenient, making people, they might just leave it before they don't want to.
How can a community affect? Local authorities actually really do not push this, because in AJ's story, we had a funding commissioner for Bedfordshire, and he said that he put £150 million per year into prisons. However, they're still stacked up. Still, there's prisoners coming in year by year, and there's no change happening. So I think by local authorities, more local, I mean by streets, them being on streets, cars being on standby in case anything might happen beforehand, even if they don't know, because majority on the nights, no one is there. It could just happen on the street and everyone would be sleeping and no one would notice it, and the person would just be bleeding out in pain without even telling anyone. So I think local authorities should be more often on street.
I think there are quite, agreeing with him, that there are quite a couple of opportunities, but I feel like if someone's not doing the best academically, they're maybe having other options like vocational stuff, such as maybe music or art, because sometimes maybe sports isn't for everyone, or maths isn't for everyone. So having more options and a wider variety of clubs and organizations that they can turn to, and finding a passion for them instead of taking to the streets because they have nothing to do.
I also think a lot of the academic clubs, or even clubs that people say look good on university applications, like music, more artistic things, they cost money. And some people just don't have that kind of money to be shelling out each term for a club. And I feel like we need way more free opportunities, but the same types of opportunities. Because I feel like a lot of the free opportunities we have now kind of might have a bit of a bad reputation, you go there, that's a bit weird. But say if someone wants to learn an instrument, I don't really know of any free services that will allow you to learn an instrument.
The way we can actually prevent is to find out where they're actually getting these weapons from. So if it's a knife, it can either be a kitchen knife, it can actually be a military knife, or it can be a knife that has been imported from another country. So we can probably do some home searches with the supervisor that can actually give us permission to search their homes if any suspicion has been going on.
what do you think is the root cause of knife crime amongst young people?
I personally don't really know. I know that obviously a lot of things like corrupt government, corrupt police and stuff like that can play a factor in it. But I don't really understand why everyone wants to hurt each other so much. I don't get it.
Oh, you're a bit of me. You know in Mean Girls and the girls can I just wish everybody had butterflies
I'm
and rainbows?
literally,
Me.
I'm a hippie.
Can't we
I'm
just
just
love each
can
other?
we all just listen to some dance music and vibe? If you feel like you want to have to fight with someone, then fair enough, give them a punch in the face and call it quits. I don't understand where I'd say passion is to want to physically hurt someone so bad when we're all in this together, realistically.
My answer to that is that it's a societal thing. We live in a microwave society now where young people want everything now, and the whole thing of having back in the day, pulling your sleeves up and having a fisticuffs is done now because most of the kids who are fighting and doing this can't actually fight, so they want the situation over and done with straight away. So rather than me risking having a fight with you and then possibly getting beaten up and then having to face the embarrassment of getting beaten up by you, do you know what I mean? I'm just going to end this now and stab you. Do you know what I mean? And the worst that can happen to me is you stab me too. And then that's what we're going to do is have this, what you see on the time is these two people fighting with two machetes to basically whoever's going to run first and then chase them down the road like that. So until we can get that mentality out of young people to be like, right, you know what, if you have got, because people are going to have disputes forever. That's always going to happen. Do you know what I mean? People are going to feel disrespected. People are going to feel like they need to settle a score with somebody. But it's about the severity of that thing. Somebody could hurt my child, God forbid it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not thinking of stabbing them to kill them. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to want to address the situation, obviously, but I couldn't even imagine pulling a knife out and then plunging it into somebody's body. But these young people have done that so many times. It's as simple as punching to them. Do you know what I mean? So, and most of these kids have probably never had a fist fight in their life.
I just really feel like I'm so anti-violence in general, but if you do need to, like you said, do that, like have the fight, I feel like it builds character. Back in the day,
Yeah,
This is the thing.
when somebody like one of my uncles, they're like, yeah, I had that fight, they whooped me that day, they'll tell you the truth. Or if they don't and they say I won that fight, I'm not letting nobody take me for no,
one of my best
whatever,
friends.
do you know what I mean?
One of my best friends comes from me having a fight with him in school, and he beat me up, and I wasn't expecting to get beat up. Do you know what I mean? But he couldn't have never stabbed me, and then me and him still be friends again after that. Do you know what I mean? Because I could have lost my life to that. Do you know what I mean? So for me, all the different things like the boxing clubs and different sports things, I feel like they definitely need to be focused on and working with these young people, because a lot of these people have got pent up aggression and anxieties that they do need to let out in the gym, and then some of them may actually be able to fight and be able to use that aggression in the boxing ring in a positive way. Do you know what I mean? And then hopefully not want to be able to be doing it out on the streets. But I think if we have more of that, more youth clubs and more mentors basically to be able to guide young people who haven't got a male role model or may have a male in their life but isn't a good role model.
What about you? What do you think in terms of what we might need to I guess combat this when it comes to activities and stuff? Because I feel like we had like the Starlight, I think I mentioned Starlight Youth Club every podcast because I take it personally.
Yeah, same. Starlight, me cutting Starlight, Youth House, 51. I mean, what was the other one? There was one more as well, I've forgotten it now. But all of those places were so needed, and we didn't have postcode problems then, because everybody from every postcode used to be in this place and collaborate with each other, regardless of me being from Marsh Farm, you being from Lucy Farm. Whatever beef we've got, we might have a fight, but it's never going to turn into a thing where I can't come into your estate or you can't come into my estate, because we've got too many people, friends who know each other from the youth house.
Or our mums are friends.
Our mums are friends, our dads are friends, our uncles, or whatever, not on cousins and everything. So that it could never escalate into the situation we've got right now. We've got young people fighting over a postcode war that started 15 years ago. They weren't even born when the situation actually started, so they don't even really know what they're fighting over right now. Now they're just fighting, and a lot of kids, like I say, are just clout chasing and want to get their name up there for being this known as a mad youth, to be able to who's going to do this and do that, and who's most active on street really. So,
what do you think though? What do you think that we need to?
Well, we need better funding. We need a different government. But I think a lot of it comes down to funding and accessibility. You know, that I did a mapping exercise before the Veery Village launch event for all the organisations, especially small grassroots ones in Bedfordshire and Luton, and there are loads, but a lot of them are small, a lot of them get underfunded, a lot of them literally have to fight tooth and nail to get funding, while other organisations, I'm not going to name any names, you know, get funding handed to them like nobody's business. And I think until that realistically is sorted out, none of these services are really going to be able to reach the people who need it. I also think that because of the way that social media is and what is deemed as cool, I feel like there can be a stigma around going to a youth club nowadays and joining in those activities.
This and the thing is, every time, sorry to cut you there.
No, that's fine.
Every time somebody questions my idea and my thoughts on youth clubs, is for me, it's not about the building, it's about who's in there and what's in there. So for me to, if I had £1 million now to set up a youth club, the last thing I'm going to be putting in there is a pool table and a table tennis table and things like that. For me, it's about creating spaces like this, and for young people to be entrepreneurial and be able to give them a safe space to be able to create their ideas. Obviously, there will be sports facilities there, and there will be other things there to be able to create on that. But I wouldn't want to recreate something that basically died 20 years ago. It's about giving these young people something that's,
and it wouldn't be priority.
That's basically an incentive to them to want to come there.
For me, I feel like when it does come to like Starlight, we had the pool table, we had the table tennis table, but we had a music studio there
as well.
It was built in a building that had a stage, so we were able to put on performances and stuff. We had a youth council to actually run. They let us run things basically. They were like, you guys, youth council, you guys are the committee, you guys run it, and you just come to us. We'll just make sure that things are. We had trips, we had accredited courses. I did level 1 radio with them. We had, and then one of the biggest things that I think is really important, which touches on what you were saying, Tierney, was that because it's so difficult to get funding and stuff, we had a lot of organisation collaboration. And at the very launch event, they put paper on some of the tables, and I don't know for anybody else, if anybody else wrote ideas, but I wrote a bunch of stuff on this whatever paper,
kept it, don't
A2
worry.
paper. Yeah, and I was just like, collaboration. Everything was to do with collaboration. Offer your services to other people. We went and offered our services to people and said, well, we have an academy where we always would like for young people to come and learn X, Y, and Z. We have accredited courses and stuff that people are able to come and get funding for, and there's this and there's that. And I think collaboration is the most important thing, because even if you can't get funding to do something, there's an organisation that might have those resources that you can then work with them, and then you can come together and work together, and you're killing two birds with one stone.
Community.
And that you're creating the community again also, so that's even 3 birds with one stone.
And if you're collaborating as 2 different organisations, you'll get a bigger funding part as well.
Precisely, because then people are going to see that and said, you did that off of your own back.
Yeah.
Wow. We want to give you guys money because you did it without us. So
that is one of my main goals from the Knife Angel coming here for the month. There's going to be like events going on throughout the month, but the networking, I want the networking to be primary in it, so that different organisations get to find out what other organisations are doing, how I can get in contact with you, how we can work together, and how we can get funding. There's a lot of organisations that haven't got a clue how or where to get funding from, so to be able to educate different organisations who are doing good work but just don't get the support they need because they're not known to everybody. So if we can try and collaborate there and coordinate everybody together in the same place at the same time, we can at least communicate.
And what else do you think, just in closing, do you think there could be anything else that we can be doing as community members to support the young people? So based on the work that we already do, I know that we're all doing what we can, but do you think there's anything else that can be done within the community when it comes to this?
I've got one thing. Not turning a blind eye to what's actually going on. You know, I can think of 1,000,001 documentaries. I'm going to bring up the one about the Rochdale paedophile ring with the girls, and I remember at the end of that documentary they spoke about how the sexual health worker lost her job and was told she would never be able to work within a council setting again because she was the one that spoke up for the girls who were getting obviously groomed and stuff like that. And I nearly threw my remote at my TV because it happens too much. People are like, oh, it's not my business, oh, it's not my business, and it's just like you're literally walking past young people getting stabbed, sexually abused, like, you know, and that's what needs to happen before anything. People need to actually stand up and be like, I'm someone in the community, I can be involved, I can be a volunteer, I can speak up, I can do anything. And until people actually do that and again have that community and want to be part of that community, nothing's going to change.
Okay.
And that's what I agree with as well, is that people turn a blind eye and then they say, you know, it's not my problem until it's your child.
Exactly.
And I feel like you need to, as somebody in the community, that's what you need to view it. That's what makes you a part of the community. That could be my son. That could even be my daughter, because there are girls as well that are sometimes involved in this kind of lifestyle, or that will hide things, and do you know what I'm saying? So that could be my son, that could be my daughter, that could be my brother, my cousin, my sister. That could be somebody from your actual immediate family that's involved in that lifestyle that could lose their life, or that could get locked up. And as I said before, once that decision is made, once that impulsive thing is done,
You've crossed that line.
That's it. There's no going back. It's done. It's done. And if you've taken somebody's life, they don't have a chance to be a dad or to go to prom or, I don't know, buy their mum a house based on whatever career they wanted to do, or have a career, because you've taken everything away from that person that they could have had. So I just think that we need to be mindful of that. And I really think that, as well as that, you said something about like some people kind of like not being wrapped up in cotton wool. I feel like people need to, when we're speaking about this stuff, we literally need to be so cutthroat with it and show the harsh realities. We can't just teeter-totter around this kind of topic and be
it
like,
has
oh, well,
to
you know,
not be a taboo anymore.
And like if you stab somebody, they could die, and if they die, you're going to go to jail for 25 plus years. But also, what's that going to do for your life and your career? And are you even going to feel good after you actually not even make that decision? Because sometimes it's not even a decision, it's just the impulsive action. Are you going to feel good once you've done that? Once you've done that thing, you cannot take it back.
For me, it always comes back to the whole village ethos, do you know what I mean? And it takes a village, do you know what I mean? So if you're living on a road and you see there's a kid who lives on the road, and it probably might, even before he's going down the wrong path, you know he lives with a single parent mum, and not even if she's doing a bad job or anything, but you see him riding past your house as a man, you see him riding past your house with his handlebars on backwards, the forks on backwards, and everything loose on the bike, and you know you can fix that bike, yeah? You as a part of that community should be like, you know what, I'm going to help that youth there, do you know what I mean? I'll help her to even show the mum how to fix this, do you know what I mean? And then if she's got it, and then, because that same you could be the same you in another 5 years from then who's going to be walking around with a knife and carrying on, yeah? But if he knows it, he's got you to be able to have that as a guide, as a guide there, do you know what I mean? That could help, do you know what I mean? And if, I'm just going to say it will, I mean, males need to step up. I mean, we need to step up. There's countless meetings that I go to where it's 80 or 90% females that are at this meeting. And the meeting's about knife crime, or the meeting's about critical bleed training, or the meeting's about anything to do with serious violence. But that's because you've got concerned mothers and concerned sisters and concerned women who are there. But a lot of these women haven't got men there who are basically there to... And if it's just a community meeting about knife crime, it should be 50-50 men there as well to be able to... And a lot of... And the same thing, like you say, people will be like, well, you know what? I knew the kid was a wrong one, but as long as it's not my kid who's doing it, it's not a problem. Do you know what I mean? But when that kid who is a wrong and it then comes and stabs your kid, do you know what I mean? You would have wished you spoke to that kid 5 years ago to try and prevent that from happening. Do you know what I mean? So whether that be your kid he stabs or somebody else's kid, but I think there needs to be more unity in the community, and we need to basically come together as that community to solve a lot of the problems that we've got. Do you know what I mean? Even down to just normal crime that happens and theft and things like that. You sitting there waiting for the police to come and resolve that is never going to happen. Do you know what I mean? You'll be waiting forever. Do you know what I mean? But if us as a community can be like, right, blah blah's car got broken into, whatever night, do you know what I mean? Stick it on a WhatsApp group, and then the neighbourhood can be vigilant to see what's going on for when the next time that guy comes back. Do you know what I mean? And rather than just sitting there waiting for being there, but you know what? It wasn't my car that got broken into, so everything's fine. That's right.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today and speaking about this topic.
Thank you.
I think it's something that's all close to home for all of us. It's something that's still like happening today, and I think that it's something that we need to continue having the conversation about it.
Definitely.
I actually cannot wait for this Knife Angel to come. We looked it up online and we were like, wow, this looks like amazing.
I'm happy to come
so
back
we're
in.
excited. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's
I
like,
have briefly
it's
before,
so cool.
yeah.
So I can't wait for it to come here and hopefully really like make a mark on the community.
I'm happy to come back and talk about that when the Knife Angels here.
That would be so. That would be so great as well. Maybe we can go by it and you know get some content there, because I think it's so amazing what you're doing with that as well. So thank you both so much.
No worries.
I really I'm grateful for the work that you do with young people as well. I think it's so important to influence young people of the world of today and just have those really like candid conversations and give them the reality, because there's no point of being like, oh well, you know, Johnny or whoever, talking to them, and no, like this, like well, go on, like this is how life is. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly that.
So I think it's really important. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, be sure to check out our website, Wingman Mentors, for the critical bleed awareness training that we're going to be holding throughout December. So we'll be holding a few sessions on critical bleed training and basically what to do in the prevent of a critical bleed. So, and we've got a critical bleed kit campaign going on at the moment as well. So we're hoping to basically flood Luton out with critical bleed kits in strategic areas before the Knife Angel comes. So check out the website and get some more information on that.
Thank you so much.
And can everyone just please try and love each other?
Yeah.
Because there is still hope in the world, I promise, you know, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys have been amazing. Thank you all for watching Youth Voices today, where we spoke about knife crime, sharp realities, cutting the silence. I hope that we cut some of the silence today. Peace.
Peace.
I wish that you knew your decisions were currency and that your actions had reactions and consequences. I also wish that you knew your potential possesses successes and that the wrong lifestyle just brings stresses, and who do you expect will clean up all of your messes? HMP or 6 feet could be one of your addresses if you don't make the decision to address this and take each moment of life as a lesson. Bloodstained Air Maxes as you rock the roadside runway, running away from the sirens, and even when you're alone there's loudness in the silence, looking over your shoulder to do the simplest of tasks. And it's not like you don't have guidance, but you decided that you're riding for someone who won't even come if you were to send out a VO, wouldn't top up your books or send you new clothes, screaming, free you, but they didn't want to free you and it was time to let you go. And if it's a home going, they'll pull one out, but really it's your mum's tears that flow. And even then the culprit's friends are now screaming, free bro. And how dare you try to take a life that a mother brought into this world, even your own, because she kept you alive for such a long time, and Now it's your responsibility. You'd rather risk it for ego and pride, or maybe it's fear. In the realm of shadows where your choices unfold, your heartbeat echoes in the streets of stories untold. I wish that your thought process helped you to progress beyond the impulse. Wish you could see how your future played out before your freedom became a thing of the past. Wish you could foresee your mother's expression. Wish you could feel the slowing beat of your victim's heart. I wish that you could see the sunshine beyond the dark. I wish you could rewrite the play. I wish you embraced a better choice and decided to break the chains. I wish you knew your potential is a beacon in the night that illuminates a path towards what is right. Success being your anthem sung by those who, like the sunshine, will rise. See, the streets are calling and the ringtone is loud, but within its whisper, the truth is found, and it's not too late to flip the script or defy the cycle that has your heart in conflict. The concrete jungle holds both pain and song, so choose the melody to guide you to where you truly belong. In the face of dispute, let empathy reign, for in unity, we have the power to switch up the lanes. Life not lived in shadows, in fear or in strife, wishing that you had never laid eyes on that knife. Let each moment become a lesson. Let it be your guide as you navigate this journey with purpose in your stride. In other words, you can be anything you want to be without risking your life for others to get there. And imagine the domino effect and consequences, not only on their family, but yours. And you're not bad, you're just afraid. So, I wish that you knew that through your creation, you were given a will that is free. Free. Just like you should be.